All right, guys, let's jump into the Unit 1 review. All right, so the first thing we're going to do here on number 1 is we're going to multiply, and remember that any whole number is understood to be over 1, so this is over 1. And then again, when you multiply across the top and across the bottom. And if you can reduce early, I recommend it. So like 8 goes into 8 one time, 8 goes into 72 9 times, and so you just multiply, and you get 45 over 1, which is just 45. Okay. On 2, once again, it's over 1. And then we know 5 goes into 5 and 350. 5 goes into 5 one time. 5 goes into 350. Let's see, 70 times. And so you multiply across the top, across the bottom, you get 210. All right. So what do you want to do here on number 3? The first thing you want to do is you want to turn it into improper fractions. So 5 times 2 is 10, plus 2 is 12, so you got 12 over 5 times. All right, 3 times 3 is 9, plus 1 is 10, so you get 10 over 3. And then again, you want to, 3 goes into 3 one time, you want to reduce 4, 5 goes into 5 one time, and 10 twice. And so you get 8 over 1, or 8 is your answer. So all these things with fractions turned into something simple. All right, so when you divide fractions, again, you want to multiply by the reciprocal. So you write the first fraction as is, and then you turn it into multiplication, and then you flip the second fraction. All right, so sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. In this case, it does, because I can reduce 6 and 9. All right, 3 goes into 6 2 times, and 9 3 times. And so 2 times 9 is 38. 3 times 7 is 51. 38 over 51 is your answer. All right, once again, on number 5, we got 4 over 19. We keep the first fraction. We flip the second one, 18 over 7, and then we change it to multiplication. All right, so originally, when the 18 was on the bottom, I could probably reduce, but as it is right now, there's nothing I can reduce. So I just multiply across the top, multiply across the bottom, and I get 72 over 133. All right, so if I could reduce at the end, I could have reduced early, and I highly recommend reducing early. On number 6, we're adding fractions, and you can only add or subtract fractions if you have common denominators. Well, on number 6, I have common denominators, so I just add up the top. 3 plus 7 is 10, so 10 over 11 is my answer here. On 7, same thing. Both denominators are 21, so 7 minus 6 is 1. 1 over 21 is my answer. All right. On number 8, I don't have common denominators, so I need to get common denominators. All right, so the factors of 8 goes into 16, 16, 24, 32, so on and so forth. And we're going to have to essentially multiply these two together. 8 times 15 is going to give me 120. All right, and so that's essentially what I'm going to have to do. And so I got this over 120, this over 120. All right, so this is going to be multiplied by 8 over 8. This is going to be multiplied by 15 over 15. All right, so 15 times 5 is, I think, 75. And then you got 16. Yeah, and so add them up, you get 91 over 120. 90 over 120 will reduce, but 91 over 20 will not. So that's your answer. Number 9, we're subtracting. All right, this one's going to be a little simpler. 6 and 4 don't go into each other, but they both go into 12. All right, so I got something over 12 minus something over 12. All right, so I need to multiply this one by 3, and I need to multiply this one by 2. Okay, so that's going to be 10 over 12, and that's going to be 3 over 12. All right, so 10 minus 3 is 7. 7 over 12 is my answer, because it's not going to reduce. Number 10, let's see. They'll both go into 14. So let's do 7, and let's do 2 over here. All right, so let's do 10 over 14 minus 7 over 14. 10 minus 7 is 3. 3 over 14 is my answer. Okay. Now, number 11. The difference of 8 times a number and 3 times a number. All right, you are turning this English expression into a math expression. So 8 times a number, what number? All right, anytime it says a number and it's vague like that, that means you get to pick a variable for it. All right, so 8 times x and 3 times x. So 3x. And you're trying to find the difference between the two. So anytime you're subtracting, it matters the order that you're going in. It says the difference of 8 in a number and 3 in a number. So 8 comes first, and then we can actually solve this because these are like terms. So that would be 5x. Okay. On 12, it says the product of a number, or 5 in a number, so that would be 5x. All right, so the product of 5 in a number is 5x, which is then added to the product of 13 in a number. So you have 13x. But instead of subtracting like we did on number 11, we're going to add. And because we're adding, the order doesn't matter. And so 5x plus 13x, these are like terms, so I get to add, and that's 18x. Okay? Let's see, 13. 6 times the product of 5 in a number. So 6 times 5, the product of 5 in a number. So 5x, 6 is on the outside of the parentheses. Multiply, you get 30x. All right, 14, you got 8 times the sum of 3 and a number. So 8 times the sum of 3 and some number. So it could be 3 plus x or x plus 3. All right, and then you distribute. So you got 24 plus 8x. And again, you're adding, so order doesn't matter. It could be 8x plus 24, or it could be 24 plus 8x, either way. All right, 7 increased by the product of 3 and 1 less than a number. Okay, so you have 7 increased, so that's plus the product of 3 and 1 less than a number. So 3 and 1 less than a number, so a number minus 1, 3, the product of 3 and 1 less than a number. So that's what it looks like, and then I can clean this up. 7 plus 3x minus 3. All right, you get 3x plus 4 as your answer. Okay? All right, so remember, when adding and subtracting integers, if the signs are the same, you want to add and keep the sign. If the signs are different, you want to subtract and take the sign of the larger number. All right, so we'll do this in chunks. So we'll do the first two. The signs are the same, so I'm going to add and keep the signs. This could be negative 11. I'll do these two. That's going to be the same sign, so add and keep the sign. That's going to be negative 28. And then again, you're going to add these two. So add those in chunks, and so that's going to be negative 39 for your answer there. 17, same thing. We'll do it in chunks. All right, so 12 minus 4, or 12 plus negative 4, the signs are different, so I'm going to subtract, take the sign of the larger, so it's going to be positive 8. Same thing here. I'm going to subtract, take the larger sign, and so that's going to be a positive 1, and I'm going to add, and so that's going to be 9. Okay. Same thing here on 18. We'll do it in chunks. So signs are the same, so I got negative 33. Signs are the same here, so I got negative 10. Signs are different, so I got negative 2. All right, so I'm going to add all these, and you can do it in chunks again, or you can do it all at once. You get negative 3, negative 10, and negative 2, so it's going to be negative 45. All right, and then on 9, you're going to distribute. All right, you're going to take the 5 and give it to everything on the inside. And so you got 10y minus 15 plus 3. All right, the back two terms are like terms. So you got 10y minus 12 for your answer. All right, on 20, you got to distribute. So you got 8x minus 24 minus 4x plus 10. You got like terms here and here, here and here. All right, so you got 4x, 24 and 10 have different signs, so it's going to be minus 14, and that's your answer. All right. Let's see, 8. I'm going to distribute. That's going to be 48 minus 48a plus 100a minus 60. Okay, so 100 minus 48, that's going to be 52a. And then 48 and 60 have different signs, so that's going to be minus 12. 52a minus 12. Oops. There you go. All right, so this is very similar to some of the first things that we talked about. All right, this is the same thing as negative 51 over 3, and that will reduce to negative 17. All right, again, multiplying fractions, I can reduce first. So 2 goes into 2 one time, 18 9 times, 7 goes into 7 one time, 7 goes into 35 5 times. Don't forget your negative when working this, but you got 5 times 1, so that's 5. You got 9 times 1 is 9, and again, don't forget your negative. Nothing happened to it, so it's negative 5 over 9. All right, when it comes to 24 and 25, your multiplying order doesn't matter, so you can do this in chunks or in any order you want. This is going to be negative 9, this is going to be positive 6, and then so that's going to be negative 54. Okay, on 25, again, we're going to do it in chunks. So this is going to be negative 6, this is going to be positive 3, and then of course you got negative 3 down here. You're multiplying all of these together. So you can keep going in chunks if you want to. So this would be negative 18 times negative 3. And so that's going to be positive 54. Two negatives make a positive. It's positive 54. All right, so that's page 1. All right, so look at 26. You got 5 numbers multiplied together, but one of them happens to be 0. So it doesn't really matter what the rest of them give you. All right, that 0 is going to make this whole thing 0. All right. Now, 27, remember division is the same thing as fractions. So you got negative 81 divided by 3, and that's going to give you negative 27. It's negative because you have an odd number of negatives. On 28, you got 162 divided by negative 6, and when you do that, that's going to give you, again, negative 27. And it's negative because you have one negative, one positive. All right, so we're dividing by negative 5. So this is tricky. So 14 over 1 times, again, because when you divide fractions, you multiply by the reciprocal. So this is actually times negative 5 over 1. Okay, so 14 times 5, that's going to give you negative 70. All right, again, flip the fractions. So you got negative 2 over 13 times negative 5 over 2. All right, first of all, 2's go away. 5 and 13 don't do anything, but I got 2 negatives, so my answer will be positive. So let's see, we got 5 over 13, and it is positive. All right, let's see. On 31, we're just going to distribute. So we got negative 14x plus 18. Nothing special there, just multiply it out. Make sure you distribute that negative when you distribute the 2. All right, on 32, once again, distribute the negative when you distribute the 6, and that's going to be positive 24x minus 18. Okay, on 33, we have 3x minus 4. The negative is the only thing on the outside, so all that's going to change is my signs. So you got negative 3x and positive 4. A lot of students get tripped up on this because they know it's a sign change, but for some reason they think it's all positive or all negative. It's not how it works. It's whatever it is, it's going to become the opposite. So if it's positive, it's going to become negative. If it's negative, it's going to become positive. So it changes every sign that it encounters. So keep that in mind. 34. So let's come down here. Let's see, it's going to be 56y plus 16. Distribute the negative with the 8. So it's going to be minus 32y. 32y minus 24. Okay. Let's see, we got like terms. So 56 minus 32. That's going to give me 24. 24y. And then 16 minus 24 is going to be minus 8. So 24y minus 8. All right. So on 35, 9 to the 4th. That's a big number, but the most important part here, because your calculator will handle that number, 9 to the 4th. The most important part here is that you're raising that negative, because it's inside the parentheses, you're raising that negative to a positive exponent. or sorry, an even exponent. So that's going to be a positive 65, 61. All right. You want to make sure you get your signs right on these. On 36, it's an odd power. An odd power that we're raising it to. So it's going to be a negative 216. Again, your calculator will handle the bigger numbers. I want you to focus on whether or not the sign is included with the exponent, and if it is it going to go away or is it going to stick around in your answer? So like on 37, the 8 is squared, the negative is not. So the negative is going to hang out in my answer, and then 8 squared is 64. So I square the 8, but I don't square the negative. On 38, again, the exponent 3 is attached to the 10, and that has nothing to do with the negative. So it's going to be negative 1,000. All right, and then same thing as 37. The 4 is attached to the 6 and not the negative. So it's going to be negative 6 to the 4th, and that's going to be 1296. And again, it will be negative. All right, 4 to the 4th, it's going to be negative 256. All right, now from here on out, we're just focused on order of operations. Okay, so make sure that you study this part really well. All right, so I got 48 times 3 minus 12. 3 squared is 9, so I got 9 minus 3. All right, 48 times 3 is 144 minus 12 over 6. And that's going to spit out. So you can simplify it one more time, or you can go straight to your calculator. That's going to be 22 as your final answer. Okay, 42. All right, so we got 5 times 11 plus 15. All right, and then 5 times 5. All right, so you got 55 plus 15 over 25. That's going to be 70 over 25. And if it was 75, the 25 would go into it, but because it ends in 0, 5 goes into both of these. So it goes into 5 times and 14 times. So you get 14 over 5 as your answer. Okay. 43. All right, so we got 4. The square is going to take care of that negative. That's going to be plus 25. Plus, you got 4 squared, so you got plus 4 times 16 all over 16 times 3. Okay, so 4 plus 25 is 29. And then you get the 4 times 16, which is 64. And that's going to be plus 64 over 16 times 3, which is 48. All right, so that's going to give you 93 over 48, which actually will reduce, and it will reduce to 31 over 16. So it reduces by 3. 31 over 16. All right, let's see. We got 16 times negative 1 is negative 16. Negative 4 times negative 3 is 12, positive 12, but you got that minus in the front, so it's going to be minus 12. All right, you got 2 outside. All right, negative 2 minus 2 is going to be negative 4. So you got negative 8 divided by negative 4. All right, so negative 8 divided by negative 4 is going to be positive 2. And so you got, on top, you got negative 28 over 2 times 2. So negative 28 divided by 4, which is going to be negative 7. Negative 7. All right. Absolute values. All right, so you do the work inside. That's going to produce a negative 5 inside, but the absolute value will make that a positive answer when you drop the absolute value. All right, then you got the negative 20 divided by the negative 4. So that's going to be a positive 5. So this is going to be a positive 5 times positive 5, which is 25. Okay. All right, 46. The inside of the parentheses is going to be 7. And then you got 5 plus 10 here. So that's going to be 7 times 15. which is 105. 105. All right. 7 times negative 7 plus, let's see, negative 2 plus 8 is going to be 6. 6 times 3 is 18. All right, the signs are different inside, so 18 minus 7 is 11. So you got 7 times 11, which is 77. Okay. All right, so we got 4 times, let's see, 1 plus. All right, so you got 6 squared and you got 6 on the outside. So that's actually like 6 times 36, which is the same thing as 6 cubed, which is 216. So this is going to be 4 times 217, which is 868. All right, 49. You got 3. 2 squared is 4. Plus, all right, 7 plus 2 is 9. 9 times 7 is 63, so it's plus 63. So you got 3 times 67. And that's going to give you 201. 201. All right, last problem. All right, so we got 22. It's going to hang out for a minute. Let's clean up the inside. We got 10 minus negative 8 plus 1 minus 3 is negative 2 cubed. So I'm not trying to do too much at once. So we got 10 minus negative 8. 2 negatives make a positive. So it's 10 plus 8 is 18. So 22 minus 18. And then negative 2 cubed is negative 8. Because it's cubed, the negative sticks around, so it's going to be minus 8. So you get 22 minus 18 minus 8. And that's going to give you negative 4. Negative 4. All right? All right, so that's Unit 1 review. All right, check this out and watch as many times as you need to. Reach out if you need any help, and I'll see you in class.